Thanks to the magic of hotfixes, we now have another Anthem build video for today. Hello everyone, DA here with a FireStorm build. Now I know a lot of you are probably expecting some armored build, some undying build, and all that kind of stuff, but the logic with Storm is going to be evasive action and try to kill the enemies before they kill you. You cannot outstand the enemy or try to tank any damage. That's just how it is. So we're going for straight on damage, raw power, because that is what Storm is all about. So we are going to be using Storm's elemental affinity to bolster one side of everything. This is a fire build after all. So we want to start with weapons. While it is nice to use whatever weapon you want to use, I will suggest that maybe you have at least a Roundhouse Blaze weapon in your arsenal, because that will be quite fantastic. This is because this weapon sets enemies on fire, and it can also be quite useful when it comes to setting up a combo, because it is a great primer ability as well. In terms of blast and focus cells, we are using Winter's Wrath, which is going to freeze enemies, and we are using Burning Orbs, which will blast enemies. So Burning Orbs is fire, Winter's Wrath is ice. But we will also be charging up Burning Orbs because we're going for that optimal effect. We don't want to use the little tosses, we want to charge it and throw huge chunks of it. For components, we want to look at two major stats. The two major stats are going to be stats that will boost your fire damage and stats that will boost your ice damage as a backup. Everything else can fall on shields, recovery, and all that kind of stuff, including armor. So you want to look for that fire first, and then everything else will follow. In terms of your sigils, and this is something that you can just keep in the back of your mind when it gets to that point, but when it comes to sigils, you want to pick a fire sigil, a gear sigil, which will increase your recharge rate, and you want to also pick a combo sigil. And we're going to be talking about that later on, why you need a combo sigil in this situation. You already know why you need fire, but we're going to talk about combo later. So this is where I will let you in on one thing, something that a lot of you probably know, but we're just going to act like you guys didn't know about this. So act surprised and like, wow, DA, I never knew that. So I just need you guys to do that. All right. So fire damage is the main damage element within the game. Ice immobilizes enemies and, does some crazy effects from time to time. Electric damage destroys shields when it comes to shielded targets or kind of stuns them. Toxin damage will debuff a target, while fire damage will just deal outright damage. Everything else falls under the lines of utility and support, though they deal damage in their own way, but fire is that top tier when it comes to damage dealing elements in Anthem. Another thing that makes fire great against enemies is going to be DOT, and that is going to be your damage over time. This means that you can keep on stacking flames and just watch an enemy burn down. If you combine that damage with any combo effect that you have in the game, then you are looking at some really good damage numbers or a really good damage effect. And this is the main reason why I wanted to make sure that the detonator is a flame one. Instead of the primer being a flame one, I wanted to make sure that the detonator is a flame one. The reason for this is that whenever you detonate a combo, the detonating element, which is the final element, is what lingers on or what remains on the target. And we want to make sure that fire is what is left on that target. So for the rest of the elements, they do leave residue, but fire does a lot more. This is also why Storm's ultimate was designed to have fire as the final element in that trio. So for this reason, I picked a fire sigil, a gear sigil, and of course you guys know it, a combo sigil. I cast ice on targets and then I combo with fire, because once you combo with fire and you stack it, that amplifies that fire damage. That is also why we have that combo sigil in there. This is what I've been talking about earlier. So this is usually great against targets that want to bring up their defenses once an element wears off. So even if you are dodging, you have enough time to return and stack another element on top of it. And when you're looking at some of the component mods that you have in the game, a lot of them also amplifies a lot of your abilities as well. Now, I will say acid does a little bit of that effect over time or damage over time, but it is primarily designed to be a debuff, so the damage is not as much as fire. Fire will be higher than Toxin on the tier list. Now, if you can get all elements working in order, you will have some really good effects when you're taking down a boss. The order should be Electric first, which will remove shields on shielded targets. Then the next one should be Ice, which will be to freeze the target after you've removed the shields. Then Toxin to debuff, which will then be great. Great news is you can apply Toxin effect after an enemy is on Ice effect. Then the final one will be the Fire to incinerate, and then you can do a combo. Ice will not work on enemies if they still have their shields on, and this is something that a lot of us already know. So a weapon like Thunderbolt of Ivania could come in handy if your second element is, maybe Ice instead of Electric or something like that. So that is why I would say, you know what, you can bring Rounder's Blaze in one slot and then Thunderbolt of Ivania in the second slot, and then when it comes to your seals, you use Ice on one and then you use Fire on the other one. So you prime with Ice and then you blast with Fire. So that is a really cool way to play Storm. Anyways, that is going to be it for now. Feel free to share your thoughts on this build and what you've been running on your Storm so far. I know that every Storm main out there like to be edgy and just want to watch the world burn. I mean, if you can't beat them, you just gotta join them. Anyways, thanks for watching. DA signing out. I'll see you guys in the next one.